Welcome to From Betrayal to Breakthrough. I'm Dr. Debi Silber, and today's guest is Megan Walrod. Megan is a writer, women's empowerment coach, and founder of Live Your Yes. Over the past 16 years, she supported thousands of women to break free from their good girl training and create fun, fulfilling lives by unapologetically owning their true selves. Her debut novel, It's Always Been Me, brings these themes to life in a powerful story of feminine awakening and the courageous journey from self-abandonment to self-trust. Megan brings a playful yet powerful approach to personal transformation and has a thing for mermaids, cupcakes, and skinny dipping. Today's guest is someone whose story, voice, and words all stay with you long after this episode ends. I'm joined by my friend Megan Walrod, author of her amazing debut novel, It's Always Been Me. I read this book during a weekend away in my log cabin, thinking I'd skimmed through a few pages. I couldn't put it down. This isn't just a novel, it's a healing journey wrapped in a story. If you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, lost yourself while supporting someone else, or buried your dreams to play a supporting role in someone else's life, Megan's story and the story of her protagonist, Sabina, will feel like a mirror. Get ready for an inspiring conversation. Here we go. Okay, everybody, we are with my dear friend Megan Walrod today, and I brought her on because she has one of the most fabulous, fantastic books I've ever read. I mean, I'm talking like I read this thing. Some of you may know I have a log cabin in the middle of nowhere, and I brought the book with me thinking, oh, I'll just get to it and we'll just see what happens. I could not put it down. Could not put it down. This is it's so impactful. If you've been betrayed, you will so appreciate this story. But I want Megan to share just why she wrote it, what it's about, what it's led to, and so much more. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so touched to know that you devoured this book in a weekend in your log cabin and that it resonated so deeply.
And here's the thing, I'm usually an Audible person. Like I have, audiobooks going all the time. So I'm not that type to sit around and read. Like for me, if I can multitask, that's great. So I'll listen as I'm working out, or I'll listen as I'm driving or doing something. But for me to actually sit down, and I'm talking, I did not want to get up. I didn't want to stop. It made that big of an impression on me. It's so powerful. And let's start with this, because I'm always talking about the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. And that's the journey that we go through if we are to fully heal from betrayal. Most people get stuck in stage 3, but I was fascinated because I saw a parallel where here she was, and I want you to talk about the protagonist, who she was, where she started, and where she led. So let's just start there with the parallel with the stages going from betrayal to breakthrough.
Well, and so let's just get absolutely. And I love that so much. And just for those who are listening, the book that we're talking about is called It's Always Been Me. And it's my debut novel. It came out in June. And I don't have children this lifetime, so this has felt like a baby that I'm bringing forth into the world. And I started to write it over 10 years ago. So it's been a journey off and on for 10 years. And when I first started to write it, I wasn't looking to write a great novel or even a book. I was healing from betrayal, and I'd been through a marriage and a divorce. And then I got into another relationship pretty quickly. I was most likely stuck in that stage 3 that you talk about, repeating a pattern. Engagement was in a phase of my life where I was saying, okay, the common denominator in those relationships is me. So for me, I was in this time of personal healing, development, like really trying to understand what was going on that I had created those experiences, not from like, what's wrong with me, but more of like, I do not want to repeat this again. And I woke up one morning with a dream and a first line of text that was this image of a woman watering a lemon tree. And it was really intriguing. And her name was Sabina. And it felt so alive. And I sat down at my computer to write the first line. And a story poured out of me from that scene. And that began to happen every morning over a series of weeks and then months until I realized, oh my gosh, like a patchwork quilt, some of the patches were missing, but I had all these scenes from a story. And the story was Sabina's story, very different 10 years ago than what it came to be in this book. But I didn't set out to cover the 5 stages from breakthrough, from betrayal to breakthrough. It was more of my own intuitive journey of writing a story that I needed to know first, that
Yeah.
I needed to go on first. And then I became aware that this is a story with medicine. Others need this too. But that was just a bit of the origin. I didn't set out to write it. It found me. It
Yeah.
wanted to be
Yeah.
written.
And I'll tell you, as I was reading first of all, I can't help it. I know what stage someone is in when I hear certain words, or they're experiencing, or they're expressing certain emotions. And it was so visceral. I mean, some of these emotions were you could just feel it through the pages, through the Kindle. And that was
Yeah.
really what was going on. You really saw how she went truly from this one space all the way through to someone to this completely different place. But how did it help you heal? Like, as you were writing this, did you find, because there are
Yeah.
so many different ways we can express themselves and it helps us heal, what did it do for you?
So many things. And let me say this again, just for listeners to help you get a sense of this story and its relationship to betrayal and breakthrough and all of this. At the heart of the story, and it's based on my own real life journey through betrayal, through my marriage experiences that happened there. And at the heart, it's a story of Sabina, who has buried her dream of being an artist to support her husband's dream in being a rock star. So we enter into the story, chapter 1, where they're having a really hard conversation. And the storyline is, that's where the betrayal is spoken. And it sets Sabina off on this journey of really reckoning with her choice to do this, to bury her dream. And so the question being about how did it help me heal? There were so many facets of it. One of the big ways is that I got to write Sabina's story on the page, right? This alter ego of mine, this fictional character. And there's nothing like writing a main character of a story to begin to see where I wasn't being the main character of my life, where I was still playing out the story of number one fan. I'm going to support you. I'll sit in the middle seat in the front row and cheer on those people I'm supporting. And like the more I wrote Sabina's story, the less I was willing to play out that role in my own life. And the more confidence I started to build in taking those steps towards my dream. Because how could I write a protagonist, you know, spoiler alert, she does begin to move towards her dream. Like, how could I write her if I wasn't doing that in my own life? So it invited this deep integrity of getting honest with where had I been bearing my dreams and what was I going to do to begin to bring them forward. And that helped me heal that betrayal in ways of finding my voice, prioritizing myself, trusting myself again. Happy to go deeper in all of those, but I feel like that's a
Yeah, and I want to do that, but let's go back a little
yeah,
bit, because there are
yes.
so many people watching, listening to this episode saying, "Oh my gosh, that's me. I put everyone ahead of me. I support everybody else. I know what everybody else needs and wants, and that's my priority, and there's nothing left for myself. I have completely lost myself."
Mhm.
What do you say to that person?
So first of all, I see you and I know that place because I inhabited that space for so long where I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't even really know who I was outside of that relationship. And so there's this feeling of there's no way forward from here, right? So if you're watching this, you're feeling that way. I've totally lost myself. First thing I want to say, I see you. You're not alone. And one of the biggest gifts you could give to yourself in this moment as you listen to this, as you watch this, is to put a hand on your heart and just have that moment with yourself. And the path to freedom begins with, I did this, and here, this is your gift for you too. I'm going to start changing this now. The journey home to myself starts here and now. And that commitment that we make to ourselves to pattern interrupt, like, I'm not going to continue to feel lost in this relationship, invites in a lot of compassion, invites in the recognition it's a journey, whether you get support, you know, from one of us or someone else in your world, getting support on that journey. And the biggest thing is bringing compassion to, you can shift out of that role and come home to yourself. There is a path, there is a way.
I love that. It's awareness, then compassion. Then it's all about
Yes.
reclaiming your voice. You know, I
Yes.
remember when Sabina just was willing to even start painting just to see. And I can imagine the fear, you know, and I felt it as she was going about this, like, oh my gosh, you know, this was my love and I totally put this on the back burner. And do I even have anything in me? Right. There are so many times that we're called to, we have a beautiful gift that we've shelved completely, and taking that out again, and just as a way to reclaim our voice. Tell us about that experience, and then maybe something that happened with you specifically in a way that you reclaimed your voice.
Yeah. So there's this beautiful scene in the book where Sabina is taking the drop cloth off of her easel that she hasn't painted on for 7 years. And it's this moment, I'm getting chills, where she literally like greets her easel like an old friend, and she feels kind of silly doing it, but it's like her meeting up with that part of herself and that easel that reminded her, you are an artist. This is a gift and a dream and a passion that you've had since you were a little girl. And it's like that homecoming, and the 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 reclaiming of our voice. Like, this is a reunion with ourselves of something we're really passionate about. How does reclaiming our voice come along with that? Well, there's that voice inside that guides us, right? That intuition, that voice. And voice can look so many different ways. Voice can look like how Sabina, how myself have stood up to situations and said, no more, enough, or said yes to our dream. And so that moment is a moment of reclaiming for Sabina, her voice of her yes to her. I am no longer willing to say no to this dream of mine. It's going to start becoming a yes, and it's going to be scary and terrifying, and I don't know what's going to come out of me and if the muse will even speak to me again, but I'm going to say yes. So it starts with that yes.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Beautiful. And that's the moment. That's the moment when life changes. You know, I'll never forget, and I've shared this, when I went back for a PhD, here I was, 50 years old, 4 kids, 6 dogs, a business. Like, how was I going to do this? It was terrifying. I had never done anything for myself. I was always last on my list. That's how I was programmed, you know. And now for me to do something so terrifying for me, and it completely changed my life. So I'm saying that because I don't want to suggest for a minute, and I don't believe that Megan is either, that it's ever going to be easy. When you take that stand, when you make that decision, when you choose you, when you finally realize, wait a second, who have I been all this time, and what do I need, and what would work for me and serve me, and you do that, it's not going to be easy. And it may not look pretty. And I remember there were a few scenes where I loved it, where Sabina was, now she's getting very into her painting. And some of them were dark, you know, and the emotions were just coming right out as she was painting. And it was such a beautiful way for her to move through her healing process. There are so many ways we can do it. And different forms of expression can give that to us. Was that for you personally something that you did in your own healing, or was it something else?
Yes. And I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because the moment from the book that I shared was this really sweet, quiet moment, right? And there are moments in the book where it's just like, one of the gifts that writing this book and writing this character of Sabina helped me in my own journey of healing was getting in touch with my anger and expressing that. And Sabina just like lets it move through her in that messy emotional way with painting, something called process painting that she does, where it's not about the end result. It's about moving her emotions and expressing that through paint. It can look any different way, any messy, ugly way, you know? And for me, and this is about that voice and the expression of the emotions and the messiness, there was a moment in my own journey when my husband told me that he wanted to explore something with another woman, and it was devastating. And I tried everything, like dragged him to all of our different teachers and guides and therapists of like, change your mind, change your mind. And when I realized he wasn't going to, and he went off to be with her, I remember one night stomping around my home, and I had a canvas up that I was just throwing paint on it, black and red, with a palette knife. And erupting out of me just came these words of enough, enough, enough. And so sometimes reclaiming our voice can be so messy and it doesn't make any rational sense. And there's something to be said for giving yourself time and space to let whatever wants to come through. Don't judge it. Don't make it right or wrong. I was messy and enough. I didn't even really know what I was talking about. And I said that word like it felt like 1,000 times. And through the cathartic process of paint on the canvas and palette knife, which is just like thud, that, clack, and the enough, I got to a point of recognizing I had enough of this old pattern. Enough. Whatever it took for me to change this, I was willing to change it. And I didn't know what it was going to be, but I just knew I was on this path of healing.
Yeah.
That like I was not going to repeat this. And along the way, one of the things that I want to share with listeners too about voice, that when I was writing the book, there was a safe place right on the page to express all these things. Anger can feel really scary to express when we're not used to it. There's so many things we've bottled up that we haven't felt safe to say to the person who betrayed us, or, to other people in our lives who we're having friction with. So I'm a big advocate of journaling and getting everything out, where all those things that you haven't spoken to that you want to, or whether you work with a therapist or a coach, and just letting yourself move it out of you and letting it be sloppy and messy.
Yeah.
Because trying to perfect some message that's from an emotionally turbulent place, like,
yeah,
off from our fullest expression.
And as you were sharing that, and I remembered reading that part, in Sabina's journey, there, it's almost like it either leads to the dark night of the soul, or it's what you feel coming, it helps you come out of it. Because here you are and we have a saying within the PBT Institute, face it, feel it, heal it. And here's where you come face to face. There's no pushing it aside. There's no pushing it down. There's no hiding. It's full on confrontation. And I think so often we do everything we can to avoid that, but that's what's leading to your breakthrough. Because it sounds like when you were saying enough, or screaming or crying enough, it opened up the ability to see a way that you may not have been ready to see earlier.
Completely. Yep. And it's being willing to be in it, go through it. And we've been taught not to feel our emotions, that were too much. We've learned that these emotions are dangerous. And I have had this experience myself with the turbulence of, betrayal and divorce, of feeling like it's too big, like feeling overwhelmed. And that can feel so real. And all of that is such disempowering messaging that we've received. And of course, this, you're teaching people to feel it. And so I just want to be that voice of, know this, that feeling isn't going to kill you. It's not going to overwhelm you. And the way that I have found to claim my power is giving voice to it, moving it through my body. Can we swear on this? podcast?
You can. I'll
Okay.
have to put us in a different category though as we should.
Okay. Then then I won't swear.
Okay.
I'll just use the letter of it. I often have encouraged my clients, and I've done this myself, is to go for FU walks where, because especially when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling like that feeling is going to take us over, there's nothing like moving our body and letting the expression move through us to remember I'm in a body. I have a body. I'm touching the earth and letting it all pour out of us with the FU, this, that, the big things, the little things, the global things, the personal things, and letting that energy move through us, through our body, through our mouth. And I find that maybe you'll choose to swear or not. I've just found that that specific language can be very cathartic to give ourselves permission to say the thing that's so taboo to say.
Yeah, I think that's great. And also, there's something else to this too that I want to bring up. We can feel so alone. We feel like we're the only ones going through this. And there's something so helpful, first of all, to know. I mean, here you wrote a book about it. There's someone else going through it that we can hear and read her journey. But let's talk about where intuition can help here, because that's when I think, when we trust our intuition, we do feel like we're not alone. We had these supportive, wise, supportive guides. How did intuition help
Yes.
you, help Sabina? Tell us.
So, intuition is everything. And one of the things that's really unique to those of us who have experienced betrayal is that we can doubt our intuition. Why didn't I see that? I should have known that. So, someone else has done an act of betrayal, and we now go into this. We've lost trust with them, and we've now lost trust with ourselves. And so I've heard women speak to, well, I don't listen to my intuition anymore. I don't trust it, or I feel disconnected from it. I don't hear what it's saying.
Mhm.
And so the the healing journey for me, like you said, there's the intuition connects us to our truth, our wisdom, our soul, bigger guidance that is available to us. And so healing from betrayal looks like healing that sense of rupture of trust with ourselves and our intuition. So I know this is kind of multi-layered. How does intuition help us? Well, first we have to get connected to it. And one of the things I often invite women to see, and I had to do this myself, was where was your intuition actually speaking to you along the way that you ignored? Not to blame ourselves, not at all, but to stock of, were you seeing little red flags and ignoring them? I,
Mhm.
I saw all kinds of red flags with my then husband. We even went to therapy together, and our therapist was like, all right, Megan, your job is to trust. And dude, your job is to be trustworthy.
Mhm.
Like we were working on that.
Yeah.
And yet there were flags. And so, again, not to blame at all, but to start to look at where might your intuition have been speaking to you, but you ignored it, you buried it. So, revisiting that connection and really exploring, how does that intuition speak to you? What's it like to start to trust it and listen to it? That builds so much self honoring. And for me, intuition has been a huge guide for me in creating my next chapters and literally writing my next chapters after betrayal. Because when the role that I was playing out in my marriage, the role that Sabina was playing out in her marriage, is that there's so much outward focus. What's expected of me? And this is the good girl training that so many of us get in this culture where we look outside. What are they expecting of me? What's pleasing? I'll become what you want me to become, and then I'll be safe, I'll be loved, I'll be taken care of. And intuition says, honey, tune in here.
Mhm.
What do you want? What do you know about this? And it's this invitation to take the seat of our own sovereignty, our own authority that comes from inside, not outside. So it's a big shift out
Mhm.
of that training and conditioning into, what would it be like to create my life from the inside out, trusting that inner guidance.
Beautiful. I'm bringing this up. I'm always trying to get into the minds, the hearts of my listeners and viewers. And I can just see some of them saying, I am way too scared to trust my intuition.
Mm,
Because think of the shakeup this can cause. And I know some of them are like, you know what? If I keep that turned down, I don't have to face it, and then I don't have to do anything about it. Let's talk to that person. What do you say to him or her?
yeah. I I love so much how you get into these spaces of like, been so important. So I know there are people out there that would say, coaches, therapists, wise folks who'd be like, you don't need to burn the house down to start listening to your intuition, making changes. True. And if the house that I've been living in feels like a freaking cage, wouldn't I want to burn it down? So my now we can burn the house down without there being trauma and drama though. And so for the you that's feeling really afraid, like if I trust my intuition is going to tell me a backlog of things that I haven't been listening to, and my life is really going to change. My question to you would be, are you willing to continue moving forward with this life of yours then without listening to that? And what if all the answers that you've been looking for is like you plugging into that intuition and discovering the power that you have, discovering the courage that you have, discovering the resources that you have within you that can actually help you walk forward from here.
Yeah.
And it's within all of that that is all those treasures that you've known you've had served as that block. So courage, I have a thing when people are like, be fearless. We can't be fearless, but we can be brave.
Yes.
Instead of trying to wait until you feel ready or you feel brave or you don't feel afraid, instead be like, how brave can I be today?
I love that. And it really, everybody has heard me say this a million times. Hard now, easy later. Easy now, hard later. Take your pick. It's going to be one of those two. So turning down
Yes.
your intuition and keeping it turned down purposefully or purposely is really easy now. Although it's uncomfortable, although you're not feeling good in your life, although things are not the way you are, you want them. Hard later, nothing's changing, as opposed to hard now, turning up the intuition and listening to what it's telling me. Easy later, I'm going to be living fully expressed in the life that I'm choosing to live. Yeah. But
Yes.
again, not saying it's easy, but that's where you need support. That's where you need help. As we wrap
Yeah.
this up, what do you want everyone to know?
I want you to know that whatever betrayal you've experienced, invitation to look at it as a plot twist. It's not the plot you thought you were going to have. It's not the path to the happily ever after you thought you were going to have. But what if you can use this now as an opportunity to become that main character, as I was talking about, the heroine, the hero of your journey, and begin to author your way forward from here, creating the life you desire, creating the life that's guided from within that will bring you that joy that you seek. So that's my biggest heart of hearts wish you to know, is that you're not alone and you get to write how things go from here forward. You get to design those chapters of yours.
I still love that. And so often it's very different than what we predicted, or that we were, that we thought was coming. But when we've made those decisions based on where we've been, and then we're like, wait a second, who am I now ready to become? It can
Yes,
blow your mind, your strength, your resilience,
totally,
your confidence, what you're ready for, your interests, the people you get to
totally,
meet, what you get to do. That's what's waiting for
totally.
you when you're
Yeah.
you're free from that past conditioning and all those beliefs you thought, you had to stand by and stick with, even though they kept you stuck and small and everything else. Where do we go to learn more about you, the great work you do, and where do we find that amazing book?
Yeah, so you can go to my website. I'm sure the link will be in the show notes, but
Mhm.
just so you have it, it's meganwalrod.com, MEGANWALROD.com. /book will take you straight to the page with all things book, including some free downloadable reflection questions and book club discussion topics. Because I'm all about let the book be a catalyst for that deeper reflection and discovery.
Perfect. And everybody, if you're moving through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough, Sabina can be your guide. You can watch how she's done it in the book, and that can sort of be a guide for you on how you can do the same in a way that looks and feels right for you. Megan, I want to thank you so much for sharing what you shared with us, for sharing your book with the world. I know for me to sit down is a big deal. And for me to sit down 2 days and just read the entire book and love every minute of it says a lot. So thank you so much for your gift to the world and for sharing what you shared with us today.
My total pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
What a powerful conversation. I hope you felt the power and presence of Megan's journey as well as her words. Stay in touch with her by going to meganwalrod.com and grab your copy of It's Always Been Me, and we'll have all of her information in the show notes at thepbtinstitute.com/podcast. Here's my biggest takeaway. It isn't just a book, it's a catalyst, a reminder that even if your story didn't go the way you planned, you still get to be the author of what comes next. Whether you're in the midst of a betrayal, just starting to find your way back to yourself, or ready to fully reclaim your voice, I hope today's episode reminded you that healing is possible and you're never too far gone to start again. Of course, we're here to help. Just head over to thepbtinstitute.com and see if our Reclaim program is right for you. Or if you're like many others, you'll not only want to heal your betrayal, you'll want to help others through it too. And that's exactly what our certification program is for. You'll find everything at thepbtinstitute.com. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to be with you next time. And here's to your breakthrough.